The rise and fall of Akhenaten, Egypt's most controversial pharaoh. Imagine a pharaoh so radical, so revolutionary that he changed the entire religion of Egypt, only to have his legacy erased from history. This is the story of Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh who defied the gods and paid the price. Who was he? Why did he abandon the powerful gods of Egypt? And why was his name wiped from history after his mysterious death? Stick around as we unravel the rise and fall of Akhenaten, the father of King Tut, and the most controversial ruler in Egypt's history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more ancient mysteries. Before he became a religious rebel, Akhenaten was known as Amenhotep IV, a prince born into the powerful 18th dynasty. He was the son of Amenhotep III, one of Egypt's greatest rulers, and he was expected to follow in his father's footsteps. But instead, he did something no pharaoh had ever dared before. Akhenaten was born to rule, groomed for it since childhood. But as he grew older, it became clear that he wasn't content to simply inherit the throne. He was searching for something more, something beyond the traditional gods and rituals. Even as a young prince, Akhenaten showed a deep interest in the sun god Ra. He saw Ra as the ultimate source of life and power, a god worthy of singular worship. This fascination with the sun, with its life-giving energy, would eventually consume him, leading him to make a decision that would change Egypt forever. From this point forward, Amenhotep IV would be no more. He took the name Akhenaten, meaning living spirit of Aten, and in doing so, declared himself not just a pharaoh, but a living god, the sole intermediary between the people and the Aten, the sun disk. But how long could such a radical experiment last? Akhenaten might have had the power of a pharaoh, but he was up against forces far older and more entrenched than he could have imagined. For centuries, Egypt had worshipped a powerful pantheon of gods like Amun-Ra, Osiris, and Horus. But Akhenaten rejected them all and declared that there was only one true god, Aten, the sun disk. Imagine you're an ancient Egyptian. For generations your family has worshipped the same gods, offered prayers at the same temples, lived and breathed these traditions. Then suddenly your pharaoh declares all of that null and void. There's only one god now, the Aten, the sun disk and Akhenaten. He's the only one allowed to speak to it. Temples were closed, statues of the old gods were defaced or destroyed, and the priests who held considerable power and influence were stripped of their authority. The Aten was represented as a disk in the sky, radiating rays of light that ended in hands reaching down to touch the earth. Akhenaten taught that the Aten was the source of all life, the creator of everything. He emphasized the god's benevolent nature, its role as a protector and provider. Akhenaten demanded absolute devotion to the Aten, and anyone who dared question his authority or cling to the old ways faced his wrath. To cement his new religion, Akhenaten commissioned countless temples, statues, and inscriptions dedicated to the Aten. He even changed the way art was depicted, moving away from the rigid, stylized forms of the past towards a more naturalistic, even exaggerated style. The art from this period is truly unique. But this artistic revolution came at a cost. By focusing so much energy and resources on promoting the Aten, Akhenaten neglected other crucial aspects of his rule. To distance himself from the old gods, Akhenaten abandoned the traditional capital of Thebes and built a brand new city from scratch, Akhenaten, known today as Amarna. Imagine the audacity. Not content with just overhauling the religion of an entire civilization, Akhenaten decided he needed a new capital city, one dedicated solely to the worship of the Aten. He chose a site in Middle Egypt, a place untouched by the taint of the old gods, and called it Akhenaten, Horizon of the Aten. Today we know this city as Amarna, and let me tell you, it's one of the most fascinating yet tragic archaeological sites in Egypt. The city was built with astonishing speed, its construction fueled by Akhenaten's unwavering zeal and the forced labor of thousands. Amarna was laid out on a grand scale, with wide avenues, sprawling palaces, and massive temples open to the sky, all designed to bask in the glory of the Aten. We're talking colossal statues of Akhenaten towering over the city, his image carved into the very stone, a constant reminder of his power and his God-given authority. Inscriptions praising the Aten and proclaiming Akhenaten as its sole intermediary covered every surface. Life in Amarna revolved around the worship of the Aten, But beneath the surface of this radiant city, cracks were beginning to show. The construction of Amarna had drained the royal treasury, and Akhenaten's neglect of his other duties as pharaoh was having a devastating effect on the empire. Amarna, this city born of such ambition and religious fervor, was destined to become a ghost town, abandoned to the desert sands, a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of power and the dangers of unchecked ambition. By the 17th year of his reign, Akhenaten's empire was crumbling. His religious revolution had made him countless enemies, and Egypt's priests, generals, and nobles were waiting for their chance to strike. Imagine the pressure, the weight of an empire on your shoulders, an empire teetering on the brink. That was the reality facing Akhenaten in the waning years of his reign. His enemies, emboldened by his weakening grip on power, were circling, sensing blood in the water. The priests, once the keepers of Egypt's spiritual heart, now saw Akhenaten as a heretic, a blasphemer who had desecrated their gods and usurped their authority. They whispered in dark corners, plotting their revenge, their resentment festering like a wound. The military, the backbone of Egypt's might, was demoralized. Akhenaten, more concerned with hymns to the Aten than military campaigns, had allowed Egypt's enemies to encroach on their borders, chipping away at the empire's once vast territories. The common people, burdened by heavy taxes and forced labor, grew weary of Akhenaten's grandiose projects and his single-minded obsession with the Aten. And then came the plague. A devastating disease, perhaps brought in from foreign lands, swept through Egypt, leaving a trail of death and despair in its wake. Whispers of rebellion, once confined to the shadows, grew louder, bolder. Akhenaten's grip on power, already tenuous, began to slip through his fingers like grains of sand. Akhenaten's reign, a period of such radical change and upheaval, was coming to an end, and the Egypt he left behind would be forever scarred by his legacy. After Akhenaten's death, the priests and rulers of Egypt erased all traces of him. His temples were destroyed, his statues were smashed, and his name was left out of official records. Imagine being erased, your name, your image, your very existence, stricken from history as if you were never there. That was the fate that befell Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh who dared to challenge the gods of Egypt. After his death, likely in the 17th year of his reign, Akhenaten's name became synonymous with chaos and disruption. The pharaohs who succeeded him, eager to distance themselves from his legacy and appease the outraged priests of the old gods, embarked on a systematic campaign to wipe Akhenaten from the historical record. His temples, once gleaming monuments to the Aten, were dismantled brick by brick, their stones reused in other constructions or left to crumble in the desert sand. Statues of Akhenaten were toppled, their faces defaced, their names chiseled away, leaving behind only ghostly outlines of a forgotten pharaoh. Inscriptions bearing his name and likeness were plastered over. His cartouches, those oval rings containing the pharaoh's name, were hacked out of monuments, leaving behind gaping wounds in the stone, silent testament to a legacy erased. Akhenaten's name was omitted from king lists, those meticulously kept records of Egypt's rulers. It was as if he had never existed, his reign a blank page in the annals of Egyptian history, a period shrouded in mystery and deliberately obscured by those who came after. The biggest mystery remains: where was Akhenaten buried? Some believe his body was found in tomb KV 55 in the Valley of the Kings, but others think his true tomb remains hidden. When it comes to ancient mysteries, few are as tantalizing as the search for a lost tomb. And in the case of Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh, the location of his final resting place has been a source of speculation and debate for decades. Now you might think that a pharaoh as obsessed with self-promotion as Akhenaten would have built himself a grand tomb, a monument to rival the pyramids themselves. But remember, his legacy was deliberately targeted for destruction. Add to that the fact that Akhenaten abandoned the traditional royal burial ground at Thebes in favor of his new city, Amarna, and you've got yourself an archaeological puzzle of epic proportions. Now there's a tomb in the Valley of the Kings, known as KV 55, that has been linked to Akhenaten. It was discovered in 1907, and inside archaeologists found a jumbled collection of burial goods, some bearing Akhenaten's name, others the names of his family members. The mummy found within the tomb was badly damaged, its face deliberately smashed, making identification difficult. Some experts believe it to be the remains of Akhenaten himself, while others argue it could be Smenkhkare, a shadowy figure who ruled alongside Akhenaten for a short time. Was Akhenaten a visionary ahead of his time, or was he a power-hungry ruler who doomed his kingdom? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more ancient mysteries. Comment your thoughts on Akhenaten. Stay tuned for more videos on lost pharaohs and hidden tombs.